Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this, 29th day of May here. Talk a little NBA playoffs with the Mad New Yorker backstage. And we'll go over. I'm going to get a few baseball questions in as well, maybe a Caitlin Clark topic as well. Running a little bit behind today, so let's go ahead and bring up the Mad New Yorker. Hey, man, how's it going there, Carlos?
What up, what up? Happy Thursday.
Woo, happy Thursday, brother. Happy Thursday. Let's just start off with this. So there's been a lot of talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, one of the youngest team in the NBA Finals. Well, you know what? That was the team I picked during the start of the playoffs. It should have just stuck with them, you know? And I thought maybe Minnesota would beat them in this round, but they just seem to be more together. Team chemistry, depth, youth, everything you would want. Call them bored or not, a lot of the media want to emphasize, because it's just not glamorous to talk about general managers and people behind the scenes. It's more glamorous to talk about the players and preferably the, if a player's dazzling like a Michael Jordan or somebody like that, or Shaq that's real powerful. But my point is, I think this team is built, this storyline is more about Sam Presti, the general manager, and the construction of this team more than it is an SGA. What are your thoughts about the Thunder? Great season. Now they're in the finals. Youngest team to do so. What's your thoughts on this run, man?
I mean, I get you. You always spot out, and you like to give praise to Presti, and it's not that he doesn't deserve it, but at the end he is the architect. He's the grandmaster behind these ideas, these moves, getting rid and shifting a lot of the so-called contracts from one player to another, and moving on from players that he thought would be good on this team, and moving and then getting somebody younger. So yeah, he does and should get praise. But at the end of the day, these players got to play, man. These players on the court, they got to perform. And look, not for nothing, but this young team, and I mentioned this before, like this is a team that that has a lot of young guys, average age, it was like 27, maybe less.
No, like 25.
5.
One stat said 23.4. Now, SGA is close to 26, 27.
Right. So, yeah. So let's go plus negative 25, right? Let's just put that number out there. It's not just their age. It's the basketball IQ they has out there, the resilient players that he's been able to have on build from a foundation. So all these little things are starting to add up. Even the coaches allowing these guys to play a little bit more than I think they should. They got a lot of extra minutes on some of these legs, but they're holding up and they're doing all right because of their age.
Do you think it's a story about SGA, or you think it's more about the general manager?
So I was going out. That was my next.
Oh, okay.
That's my next comment.
Sometimes you go off you're like Bill Walton. You just go off the reservation,
No, I'm staying. I'm Cherokee all the way. Let me tell you, what we're forgetting is that SGA has made his name. It's made a mark on his basketball skills and his play on the court. You're talking about an NBA West division that, of course, is King LeBron. Everybody talks about LeBron James. Steph Curry, everybody talks about Steph Curry. Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, Jokic. You just start spouting out all these names, and then all of a sudden, Ant is a rising star. He was on the Olympic team.
Yeah.
But little SGA and the little Thunder team is the one this year who made all the noise and who's making noise and who's out there proving himself on the court. And he don't talk much, man. He don't need to talk. He put in everything on the court, and he was given a position, an opportunity by good old Mr. Sam Presti, and he took off with it, right? But there was a lot of guys before him that was given that opportunity that didn't do much with it, right? So now he's there.
What guy? Are you talking about the group before his
Yeah,
group? Are you talking about Durant and Westbrook?
No, I'm not. No, that's way before that. I'm talking about
okay.
Howard. What's his name? The guy they got from Boston. I forget his name, but he was a huge contract that wasn't going to pan out because he was injured.
It didn't pan out. Okay.
Yeah, injury prone. But so it's not. We can't sit here and say that Presti's made every move has been like he's great. No, the moves that he's made have been good, and the players that have played have been great, right? I think that's how we have to, look at it. So because he can make all these moves, but the players don't play, then it doesn't matter. And he got a young man in this what's this guy's name? What's his name's nephew? I can't remember his name. The tall guy.
You're not talking about Chet Holmgren?
Yeah, he got Holmgren. Like he's getting played at Williams. He's getting played out of everybody. So this is a good. They have good chemistry. They're playing for each other. This defense is, just
elite.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say elite, but they're making points off of the defense, which is good, which has helped them. Like they got a 10-point, 15-point lead because of that, because they're playing good defense and they didn't stop, and they're not just they're giving the guys opportunities to shoot threes who usually make threes. They're not just shooting threes, shoot out threes. And even getting a guy like Caruso to come off the bench and his knowledge and his patience and the fact that he's been on a couple playoff teams, and I think he's even won a championship, right, with Cleveland. Is that right?
Caruso may have very well done that. I think he may have won with LA.
Maybe with the Lakers, yeah.
You're thinking LeBron, and I want to say he did. Here, let me throw in some stuff I got off. Not unless you want to add something. He also brought in Isaiah Harkenston, and you wanted him to stay with the Knicks, right?
Right. So that was the heart and soul for the Knicks last year, and providing more inside depth that they didn't have at the before, and again, Hartenstein was somebody that Tiz were reluctant to put in anyways, and then a Mitchell Robertson injury allowed him to play minutes and get him going, and everything that has happened and is coming to fruition for these guys is you can see it. The season, the best scoring team during the season, I think, is the second best team in scoring. They're one of the top 5 defensive teams. So everything that they've been doing is gotten them to this point. And I just hope they don't stop, because they have an 8-day break, right? So I've been watching these guys going at it, and I think that they're the most balanced team right now that's out there. But we'll see. And I felt this. We said this last week. I felt like this team was going to come out of the West, and I couldn't tell you who's going to win the championship, because I feel like whoever comes out of the East, they're going to battle, and it's going to be close. So.
Yeah. I'm definitely leaning OKC Thunder. Bleacher Report put this out this morning. Listen to this, audience. So Sam Presti traded for SGA, which I didn't know that.
Right.
He traded for SGA, traded for Alex Caruso. I think you just mentioned him a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
J-Dub drafted J-Dub, drafted Chet Holmgren, who we all thought was a little thin, but we knew he's talented because he played well in college at times. Carson Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, signed Lou Dort. Good signing. Really good signing, Lou Dort. Love Lou Dort. Just mentioned your guy, Isaiah Hartenstein. I'm like you. I did not want to see the Knicks let him go. That was a bad move, and now we're starting to see it. And he also signed Isaiah Joe. And, of course, they still got a bunch of draft picks. They got at least 20 draft picks over the next 5 drafts. Mm-hmm. They're the youngest team in the NBA. This is according to BetMGM. Mm-hmm. Their numbers are 24.2 to be exact. Right. 24.2 years old. This is back in the day, this team would have folded according to the narrative, but you can't stack teams now. It's very organic. I've said this for years, and you've heard me say this. The NBA is not a coach's league. It's more about the general managers league and orchestrated putting together these rosters, you've got to make these guys fit. Now we're starting to see it in the NFL. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Look at what Howie Roseman's doing there in Philadelphia. Has anybody ever even heard of the Philadelphia coach? I can't call the Thunder's coach's name. Is the Thunder's coach? I mean, is he a household name?
No, he's not.
I think he's Google this thing.
I think he's younger than us. No, but like I feel like
newborn baby.
Even moving Gordon Hayward. Remember, that's the guy who I was trying to remember his name. That was good.
Oh yeah, and everybody misses. Yeah, this guy's freaking. You're right. He's born in 1985. He just turned 40 years old.
Yeah.
Mike Dagensalt sounds like some kind of German wrestler or something. I've never heard of him, but he's born in Lancaster, Massachusetts. He went to Connecticut and Florida. He's got a good pedigree, but this guy's no Phil Jackson or anything like that. He's just Presti. I bragged on Presti for years. Now, he's got to win the chip. You can't be considered an all-time great unless you start winning championships, you know?
Right.
But I think the story is it's not sexy in air quotes for Fox or ESPN, those big panels with those much bigger platforms to talk about management, roster construction, and whatnot. But I'm telling you, I feel like this is all about this guy. He's the star here, man. The general manager. Although I still love SGA. I saw him coming a long time ago. He's getting progressively better and better and better. He's a very consistent player. And let me, not to take a jab at Halliburton, like Halliburton. Don't love Halliburton. But this whole idea that he's overrated, I could see why they voted that. The guy scores 6 and 7 points sometime. SGA is solid night in and night out, day after day after day.
25 points plus a game. 25 points plus a game.
Yeah, I mean, he's a robot out there.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a smaller version of Tim Duncan. He's not very flashy. I mean, the guy's nickname was Mr. Fundamental. I don't know this guy. What do they call him? Free throw merchant. I mean, I call him Stamina guy. You know.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, you got this guy here. He's consistent. The guy's, you know, he doesn't have to say anything when he's on the court. Things just go the right way. You know, I don't think he's even a floor manager. He's just a go-to, puts the team on his back and does all the small things, does all the right things to make it work. Because if he sees a guy that's hot, he's passing the ball. If he sees this guy's hanging at the three, even though Holmgren should be in the middle because of his height, just to get those offensive the rebounds, he sees him. He's like, you know, he's hot. He had 2 3-pointers. All right, let me give him one more. You know, like he does a small little thing, takes a charge, goes for steals, goes for, you know, rebounds.
Yeah,
like,
he's not too big for anything.
Yeah, and a
lot of star players don't take charges.
Right, he's just playing basketball, man, and it just because you're looking at him, he's a small, skinny guy flying left and right, but the problem is that your eyes are always on him because he's always around the basketball. That remember you taught that. Look, it don't matter what you do, just be around the basketball and you'll be in the game, right? When the ball doesn't come to your hands, that's when coach is like, guess what? Got to put somebody else in. So you know, this, you know, I feel like this is one of those things like Kyrie, like he was like really quiet and Kawhi Leonard. He was like really quiet, didn't say nothing, but he was just always around the basketball, and then all of a sudden you're just paying attention to him. Just so. He's a star, man, and he's proven it, and he's gotten you know, he got the MVP for this West Coast Conference divisional playoff round, so he deserved it, and it's, I hope, and I just watching him, that we get to see more of him, and that maybe he can get even more better.
Yeah.
You know, think about it with these guys that he's surrounded by, if they grow together, you know, you could watch. Could we be seeing a little bit of a dynasty? We don't know yet. Well, it's, you know, I
know it's hard because I say that every year. I thought Denver would you know, win a few with Boston.
Right. So look, even think about it. Like we have same division as Durant, Booker. Like I mentioned, all these guys in the division, and at the end of the day, none of those guys came out. None of those guys came out from the playoffs. It was the smallest team in the smallest market with the guys who played the better defense and scored more points. And the one guy who scored the most points individually, he changed all the games that they were in, is SGA.
Yeah. He's definitely the MVP of this team,
Right.
but it's well put together. Not a lot of ego on this team. You got the guys that are young, hungry. They're at the right age. They're not too young, and they're winning, and they should be favored to win the whole thing. They've got 4 more wins to do. I kind of like to see them do it.
I like the attitude. They don't have to talk smack. They don't, those other guys that say things. Even Hartenstein has said something on the Thunder team about, we're going to get this 5. And I'm like, the SGA just, he leaves it on the court, man. And I like that, man. Just play basketball and leave it on the court, man.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about this Pacers? And the same thing with the Pacers. I mean, this guy right here, I got to give him credit, and I had his name screenshotted. Chad Butchahan, I think that's his name. He's the general manager since 2017 of the Indiana Pacers. They looked. I know it ain't over yet, but it might as well be over. I think they're going to go to the finals. They were in the semifinals last year. It wasn't a fluke. Bringing in guys like Pascal Siakam, making big trades. They got in Halliburton over, and I thought the guy from Sabonis, I thought that Sacramento got the big deal with that trade. But it all worked out, man. You got to give these general managers credit. And, of course, they got Rick Carlisle, too.
Right.
But if it's me, like I was saying earlier, I feel like it's 80% general manager, 20% coach as far as the non-players. Of course, the players have to play.
Right.
If you take the players out, it's mainly the general manager that puts those players out there. It's 20% coach. In this NBA, with all this complications and this new apron thing that the CBA has put in there.
Yeah, again, we're talking about these 2 teams in the division that were in the lower rankings. They came in the playoffs. They were in the top, 3 teams.
I think there were 6, but it was only a 1 game difference.
Yeah, 6 and 7 playing each other, right? Something like that.
Well, yeah, something like.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but all I know is,
or 5 and 6, one of those.
Yeah, all I know was the Knicks were just 1 game better, and they had home.
Yeah, but they were in the top. They were in the top team in the NBA. So you're talking about a list of young. I think that.
Yeah, NBA, Cleveland was the top seed in the
right. I think like the East is filled with a lot of guys that are on the up, where the West is filled with a lot of guys who are past their prime, but still all-star names. So even if you're looking at Boston with the Tatums and Pacheco in Orlando, and I mean not Pacheco, but
they were the 4. I'm sorry, Orlando. They were the 4, and the Knicks were the 3. Yeah, we were close.
Yeah, but Orlando has this guy. What's his name? I can't remember his name, but so there's a lot of budding stars that are appearing here, and Halliburton just kind of jumped in, and I think everybody has their own idea about him, but he's proven people that he's an all-star. He deserves to be in the top.
Do you think it was right for them to? Do you see why that they did vote him? I don't think it's envy or anything that they voted him most overrated. I think sometimes he has 4 points. I think he's not a consistent like an SGA.
I think the problem is that he's not an SGA, and that everybody wants him to be a certain. Everybody has a certain expectation of him, and I look at this. If he's not on the court, there's a different game going on.
Yeah.
So even if you think he's underrated, he might not get the 25 points every game that you want him to.
Yeah.
He's getting 5 or 6 assists average. He's getting triple doubles on some games. He does a little bit of everything. The problem is he'll have an off night shooting. Sometimes he won't even shoot well in the free throw line. The only thing I feel like for him is that you're always gonna get energy. Right, I feel like he's the youngest form of Russell Westbrook on a bad day. And Russell Westbrook, he wasn't bad coming off the bench or even when he started on the Thunder teams. The problem with him was that he was going so fast that nobody was on his feet. And then you had the better player in Kevin Durant. He was the one that carried the team in that team. And so he's a baller, and I think the media has a problem with that because like the perception of what they want out of that position. And look, if he's not on that court, Indiana is not winning. Can we just say
he's one of these high plus minus guys?
Yeah, if he's not, I feel like, and I complain about this a lot. You give him minutes, he's going to give you some kind of stat on the positive. If you give Randall minutes, he's not giving you much, right? So if you could, like, and I know they're two different positions, but I'm just talking about per player. Like, so you could call it overrated all you want to, but he will affect whether the Pacers win or lose. Because if he's on the court. If he's not on the court, and you're a coach and you don't allow him to be on the coach for whatever reason, a couple fouls here too many, or you trying to rest him for this, and then you're out of your mind. You got to have this guy on the court. So he's like Jalen Brunson. You have to have Jalen Brunson on the court. You just got to, because every time he's on the court, something good happens, and it's all positive stats.
Yeah, he keeps the flow going, and you know what? He's one of those guys, if you watch him, he never seems to run out of gas. He seems like he's playing like the first quarter at the late in the fourth quarter. Somebody mentioned he's kind of like a Steph Curry minus the jump shooting with all that energy he's got.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he's like Russell Westbrook when he was young, just running everywhere.
Westbrook had a lot of energy, man.
Yeah,
he's still got a lot of energy at 37.
And
at 24, he was like crazy energy.
He's so quick, he fixes himself out sometimes. It's like, but again,
and they had the Knicks standing around a lot.
He was if anything, this thing that he's most consistent of is energy, like pure energy.
Yeah. I still give this general manager a slight edge over Carlisle, although Carlisle is the right coach. The coach is the last piece. You got to put it together like the Bulls did. And then you went through a few coaches, then you finally get a Phil Jackson, and then it all comes together. But
I think with Carlisle is like he knows who his players are, but he doesn't, because they're so young, he knows it's inconsistent, that he's hoping that they could just kind of ride the wave. If they're scoring, that they keep scoring and keep the Knicks running around. Or if they're playing defense, that they play enough defense that they don't foul because they don't have enough depth to finish out the game. So it's an up and down battle. I don't think Carlisle is a bad coach, and I don't think it's that he doesn't make the right.
I like Carlisle. Yeah,
he doesn't make the right adjustments. It's just he's dealing with a team that's very inconsistent, and young and quick. So the quick fouls and the small turnovers, they hit harder. You carry more weight. And so if the Knicks, let's talk positive about them. If they could keep pounding the ball inside, don't take no dumb threes, don't play dumb basketball, protect the basketball.
You still got faith that I think they're up right now, technically.
Yeah, I think
I've thrown in a towel on them, but
I think they can
they might win tonight. They're up by 10, but no lead is safe in the NBA.
Yeah, and then they can push I think they're pushing this to Game 7. To be honest with you.
Wow. Hey, well, you know what? I'll start another narrative if they do. I mean, if you had something to change about the Knicks right now, what would you do if the owner says, "Hey, man, you got all the authority"?
Oh. I'll get rid of Towns. I'll pick up Giannis, and I would maybe even throw in another player in there, and just to make sure you get Giannis on the trade. And if I can't get Giannis, I'd go after this guy that I've been talking about. That's from New York. That's on Golden State, and bring him back home.
The guy that's not fitting in Golden State.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh, you mentioned him earlier.
Yeah. So
I want to call him Clint Capella, but it's not.
No, it's not. No, it's I can't think of his name right now. It's been a long week for me.
Well, I tell you what, I know who you're talking about because he got benched.
Yeah, they benched him, and then they try to play him at the end of the season.
Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Kuminga, that's my guy. I like him. He's a Long Islander over here, and bring him back home, man. If you can't get Giannis, you bring in the kid. You make the team younger. You bring in quickness with him. You might not bring in consistency, but you bring in quickness, and he might peak and become a Giannis or even someone like a Hayward or something. He's, but he got to be in the right system, man. He's got to be in the right system. So, and I would get rid of Tibbs. I'd get rid of Tibbs.
Yeah. Would you go after, Carlisle got fired from the Mavericks. Maybe he had been there too long. The 10-year rule with guys like Bill Walsh. I know that Denver's had Mike Malone for a while. He got fired this year, butted heads. Would you bring in a former Denver Mike Malone there, a championship coach, kind of like the same situation there with Indiana, bringing in a former championship coach where things kind of went south?
Yeah,
do something like that.
That's interesting that you said that. Yeah, I would look for a coach who has pedigree in championship. You still got Brunson, who's young. It's not that I don't like Towns, but if you had
he's a defensive liability, and
he's had a pick between Towns, Kuminga, and Giannis, I'd go Giannis, Kuminga, Towns, and Kuminga because of age he's like younger than both Giannis and Towns. And
what do you give up for Giannis? I mean, that's
you give up maybe Deuce, you give up one of the players and Towns. I mean,
yeah, and the problem is they don't have that capital like they did.
Right.
You know what? I think they probably should have simply kept Hartenstein, and even keeping Randall. They probably got the same record, maybe better, because they were better defensively with that group versus this group.
Well, I mean, if they would have kept everything the same,
and maybe went after Giannis in this offseason, and you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they just made a bad move with Towns. That's what I seen.
I think if Towns wasn't on this team, they wouldn't have got past Boston. And the reason they got past Boston was because of two things happening. But Towns was one of the key components and being able to.
You think Towns himself put you over the top? That's interesting. Okay.
No, it allows us to get to where we're at right now.
Okay.
Like Towns isn't the key to get the Knicks past to go to win the championship.
So you don't think DiVincenzo and a healthy Randall could have got you past, even though this team struggled against Orlando?
This is a Minnesota team that had Ant and Randall and DiVincenzo and couldn't get past OKC, right? So
right.
You can't sell me a bill of goods. This is that I'm seeing and I'm watching these games and Randall disappeared like he.
Now, mind you would still have Hartenstein because you would have been able to sign it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but it's just again, I've said this before on this podcast, and then I also wrote about it. Like you pretty much got a 1-for-1 in Randall and Towns, and the only thing you got better was a better 3-point shooter in Towns. And a person who rebounded a lot more than Randall.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw the game, even they were down by 10 and Randall was just hanging out the 3-point line and letting OKC and everybody just run them up in the middle.
He's got bad habits. And it's a funny thing. So does Towns.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
bad habit guy for bad habit guy.
That's why I'm like, when people are like, oh, we got Towns, I'm like, so what? Like, maybe we got a better 3-point shooter, but we don't need them we don't need to be like, what do you know?
I hate it when he says I'm the best 3-point shooting big man. You're not supposed to shoot threes. You're a big man. He does not want to stay in that paint, man.
I'm going to tell you something, and I don't want people to get angry at me because they think that I'm hating on Towns, but the thing about Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, and Akeem Olajuwon was that they started inside and worked from the inside and went out.
Yes.
When they saw the opportunity, they saw the opportunity that there was a mismatch, and they knew they could spot up and shoot a 12-footer, 15-footer, or a 3-point. They made their moves and did that. You cannot just get a ball in your hands and just shoot it up and it goes in and you're like the best. That's not how that works. And it's not.
Plus, there's been talk about having Towns and Brunson on the court at the same time. They're defensive liabilities.
Yeah,
because Brunson's not the greatest defender in the world.
No, but he's quick enough to create havoc and stay on a man if it's man to man. So the liability is his height, believe it or not.
Yeah, he's not that big. Because
he gives up too much space for a guy who's 2 inches taller than him and is a better shooter. That's why he's a liability. But other than that, he's quick enough to stand with people and run through picks and He's got a few, defensive, offensive fouls and stuff like that. But right now the Knicks aren't losing because they're not deep. Right now they're losing because their turnover rate's too high. They when they give up the ball, the possession, they also give up points on that, and the way that the roster is set up is so inconsistent, and like nobody, even the players, I don't feel like they're in they don't feel like they're in sync, right? Charles Barkley was saying, to Kenny Smith, he was like, "Yo, like what's up with Tibbs with this, putting in these players, and they got these high hopes thinking that they're going to start again, and then they don't start, and then and then Shaq's like, well, you got to be ready to play when you get on the court." Yeah, that's true. Like,
I love Shaq. He's such a straight shooter.
Yeah, and that's true. And Kenny Smith said the same thing. Like Tibbs doesn't have to worry about who he's putting in. Like, yeah, it's not that. And Barkley, what they miss, I think sometimes he says things, but they gotta miss what he's saying is that these guys, the best way to get some of these guys everything out of them is making sure that they're in sync and they have something consistent. And when you throw in players that haven't played at all for since the end of the season, then you throw them in, and they're playing well because they're playing in the playoffs and they're excited, but that kind of dips because then they don't go back in, or it's all about, for them, it's all about trying to get some consistency and trying to get into the game, into the flow of things. So Barkley, he makes sense of some of the things he said, but what Shaq and Kenny Smith said is correct. If you're on the court, you got to ball out, and then when you're not on the court, you got to just wait to get in. So
right, I think realistically, could be wrong. Hope I'm wrong, but realistically, I don't think they can get a lot of value for Towns, because Towns is already. It would be twice that he's moved, because now the league is saying, okay, Towns is a horrible defender. He always wants to shoot threes. He's not consistent enough to play the way he. So I don't know if his value's there. Another option, maybe they just sign some bench guys and get a new coach. Possibly, do something like that in the offseason.
The problem is when you have a superstar, air quotes, like a Towns, somebody somewhere is going to pick him up. That's just what
you think. Somebody still would jump on him.
Man, there's a lot of teams that can use a big man, period. You know what I'm saying?
The Lakers could use him,
I mean, look, if you put him, it was
but who would you get back? I mean, Austin Reeves.
If you put him in Orlando with Banchero, they're going to win games.
If you put him in Orlando and maybe make a move and get Chicago's Vucevic.
I think the problem is
I'm hearing Vucevic may get moved, but I've been hearing that for 2 years.
Yeah, no, I think we got to settle down. We got to pause the brakes here, Robert. Like, just because you move Towns, don't mean you got to bring in. I think everybody's getting this whole let's get a three-headed team. That's not how that works. In basketball, it's about money, contractual agreements, and then a lot of time on the court.
Oh, the contract's got to match up.
So
who would Orlando give for him?
Well, Orlando can do whatever they want, because at the end of the day, they want people to come and watch the team. They're not thinking about playoffs. And if they do get into a playoff, then they'll do what you say. That okay, who can we get in the free agency and throw out a line there and see who could pick up. So I think we can't just be like, okay, so if we got Towns and bring in 2 or 3 more people, like you asked me what I would do.
I'm saying move off Towns and you get better defensively.
Again, somebody.
I'd love to get Giannis if you could make that happen.
Yeah,
if you can get Milwaukee to bite on that apple.
I mean, even a team like Portland can use like a guy like Towns,
Well, that'd really mess him up, wouldn't it? Send him to Portland.
But I think
they got some young players though.
Yeah. He's not a dead fish in the sea, man. He's just like,
maybe work out something and move him to. They need some offense in Houston. Maybe work out something in Houston. Get some of those guys and sign another mediocre center. You could go that route. You don't have to get an equal big that could score.
I mean, even
there's a lot of stuff you could do.
He could go to Boston. And he fits perfectly with everybody shooting.
Oh, that's Boston. Boston needs a big.
Yeah, because Porzingis is he can't play
He'll
more.
Get back Jaylen Brown or somebody.
No, probably
get him
White.
upset.
Probably somebody like White and maybe a couple people off the bench.
Yeah, that's food for thought, man. That's food for thought.
Mhm.
So, hey, look, let me ask you this. I didn't get a chance to ask the other day. Are you surprised that Caitlin Clark has jumped this much? Like the hype is coming into the second season with Clark, man. Now she's injured right now, and I know she's gonna be back in a few weeks. She's got like a quad, but I was looking at the ratings for her the other day. Opening game, man, it's like 2 million more than NBA regular season games. Are you a little surprised by that?
No,
that it's continuing on.
No, not at all. I think that right now the way social media is, the way media is, the way you get in people. She's an influencer. If you want to put that down as what she does as an influencer, like she's everywhere, and it's good that they're getting this kind of these eyes on women's sports and women's basketball and in general. Like we tend to forget. Like I think it was just I don't know if it's women's sports has now just hit 3 billion or 2 billion or something like that.
Yeah,
it's just reached the billions, and kudos. That's good because that means that there's more eyes on these women professional sports. Now, I'm not here to just to debunk what's going on. Like men's sports and all of the national sports and all professional sports that we have in the United States, it's over 50 billion, right? It's anywhere between 35 to 50 billion dollars that they make a year.
Oh, the money. Yeah.
Yeah, money wise. Yeah.
I read some stat that she can bring in like $1 billion or something like that.
So I think that's where I'm going. So just her being part of this professional women's league, right now, all women's sports has brought in $1 billion. In the next 3 years, you're gonna see that she's gonna be riding that wave, and then you're gonna also see coming in, Juju and like all these other women coming in that are good basketball players as well. So,
do you think this girl? I don't know if you know this or not. If you don't worry about it. This Paige Becker girl, Donna Taurasi saying that she could be better. She could do better player to Clark.
Yeah, she keeps. There's a lot of these.
Or is that just haterade?
No.
A lot of people can't stand Clark. They're haters.
What it is people throwing out names so that people can watch, so that people can see, and hopefully this woman plays well, and then she can, and actually plays up to
ratings,
and then just start getting ratings. You gotta say, you as an older professional player, you have to say that the younger people are better or could be better than you, just to get the eyes on the younger players. I think it's.
So you're not buying in that Paige Becker hype?
It's not that I'm not buying in. I want to see what she's about because if Taurazi's saying that and she's saying it, and she's a basketball brain, a basketball mind, a basketball like hooper, like legend.
Yeah.
I'm now I got a little bit of interest. Now I got a little
There's a girl I work with, a young lady that's 23. She was telling me about Paige Becker last year. And I thought that's interesting. I'll keep an eye on that. I'll keep an eye on that. I mean,
So you that was your
dazzling as Caitlin Clark. I mean, Clark jumps off the screen, man.
Right. No, so she said you a little nugget. So now you getting the 20 piece because you're gonna find because Taurasi said, "Yo, check out this lady.
Yeah,
she's real."
Well, they both played for Connecticut, so kind of
there you go. So now you super interested. Now you don't want this Happy Meal, you want this 20 piece nugget. So
yeah, possibly if it's not cold, I don't know.
You want a little taste, man. Yeah, you got to throw these. You got to throw it up and give a.
Yeah, I know it. Made me think about food. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, man. If you're Pittsburgh at this point, do you just give up on Rodgers, man? I mean, this dude is so nonchalant at this point. I mean, freaking, it's almost June, man.
Yeah, I think if you're Pittsburgh, you're in a situation where you want a solid quarterback, and you're always gonna have the back door empty so that if anything happens, you can sneak him in and be like, okay, well, let's do this and let's go for a championship. Because Pittsburgh is maybe the only team in the NFL who's consistently made the playoffs. So I don't think they're worried like other people are worried. Just get him on. Let's make sure they get on the same page. Let's make sure they. Pittsburgh's not about that. They have
that's why they didn't win playoff games. They downside the quarterback too much.
All right, fine, but they
downplay it.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, then they're going to do what Pittsburgh does, and that's play defense and be a little bit monotonous and just try to grind out in the division because that's just the way it's been done, and that's just the way it's going to be done.
They are really hard-headed. I've got to get Ralph Williams back on the program out of the Pittsburgh. Hey, they got to be getting tired of this. But
I think the fans more
that's
than
so old and dated. And I had a writer the other day, and he was telling me, he said, "Listen, you gonna spend all that money on defense, you got to have the number one defense. You can't have a good defense. You got to be better than the defense in your division, which is Baltimore, and it's not. Not consistently." Yeah, he froze up.
Yeah,
there
so
a little bit. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Well, I think you're talking about these Pittsburgh fans, these newer Pittsburgh fans who are like seeing everybody signing.
Younger people under 50.
Yeah, they see a lot of movement going on, but Pittsburgh's not making those moves. They just lost their running back and got to get a new running back. So they're like a little hesitant, but again, it's not the Pittsburgh Steelers fans team. It's the owner's team, and the owner's going to do what the owner does and how he's always done it. And he feels like because he's been in the playoffs for the last 15, 20 years, they're going to just figure it out as it goes, and they're going to be okay because they're in a division that they're always competitive and ready to go. If I was a Giants fan and the Jets fans and we had the same record as the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would never say anything bad about the owner or the coach because I know that they have our best interest in mind and making sure that we make the playoffs and we're competing for making the Super Bowl run.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's.
If you're a Steelers fan, a true Steelers fan, that's how you think. That's how you molded, and you ain't worried about nothing that's coming out of media until paper sign saying this is a person.
I would like to see. I disagree. I think if you did a survey, if you did a poll with the fans. I don't think a lot of would say this is a championship team.
Yeah, no.
The last few years.
No. Don't mix.
Or in the championship, they're not in the Super Bowl window. They haven't been in the Super Bowl window probably in 5-7 years, maybe.
Yeah, but don't mince the words that I'm saying. What I'm saying to you is that the owner's going to do what the owner's been doing because he's been having success doing that.
Yeah, the Rooney families, they got a certain way of doing things.
Right. So, and the way that they do things isn't that it's also to try to be as smart business-wise than anything else. They don't want to lose money on a player because they signed him on an extension where they didn't think that, before the season start. They're very methodical in how they do things. Now, if you're a Pittsburgh fan and you're under the age of 45, yes, you are rabid. You're nuts. If you survey them, they will tell you they hate that the Steelers are even not making any moves, that they don't have a number one quarter. They'll tell you all that in whatever's under the sun in Heinz Field. I don't care. And it doesn't matter to me because I know as a football fan and somebody who watches football that the Rooney family is going to do what they want to do, how they want to do it, and get it done. And they'll still be in the playoffs. And my teams in New York can't do those things. That's what I'm saying to you. Yeah. So and I'm not saying I should be a Pittsburgh fan, but what I'm saying is that they at least have a structure and a formula that they made that helps them participating in the opportunity of being a playoff team.
They're just good enough for people. They're not forced to make a change, And
right.
Tomlin's good enough just not to get fired. I mean, Ralph told me last year he's going to sign a 3-year deal. He's already got one of those years done. He's got 2 more years of this mediocrity, and he'll retire, and then maybe they'll have a different voice in there, and they'll go eventually go out and get another quarterback. I think this year's probably that year that they probably only win 6 or 7 games. Some are saying maybe they should trade TJ Watt too and get another pick and try to leverage it to come up and get a quarterback next year because they ain't worried about no Mason Rudolph. Even if Rodgers signs with him, he's 40-something years old, and he's got one leg out the door anyway. So one foot out the door in retirement papers that he's ready to resign.
He's in a division where he's competitive. They stay in the playoffs, and and they're not the Dallas Cowboys. They're not the Giants. They're not even the Minnesota Vikings, man. They're going to do things their way, and it's what it is, man. And this is part of the reason why some things in the NFL don't change is because the ownership of like the way these owners are, because the same thing with the Brown family, the same thing that, like these family-owned football teams have been there for years. They consistently are making money, and they're okay. And when unless they get
Ralph
a new
says
GM,
they're cheap. Ralph Williams said they got a
unless
nickel
you get a new
raise
GM
for their vendors. So I said, a nickel? He said, yes, a nickel. They're cheap, Rob. I said, well, I can see that. They'll pay a defensive player $20 million to Michael Fitzpatrick, but we'll see what happens, man. I'm pretty sure there's some frustrations. You're right. 3 coaches since 1969. They're real set in their ways. They won't fire anybody. Also, they got to ask you a baseball question, man. Aaron Judge hitting 395. I know it's still May. Do you think he really has a shot at 400, or does he always get hot like this? Is he going to fade? What's your thoughts about Aaron Judge, man?
I really appreciate what he's doing right now for the Yankees. I think right now we're in the time frame where pitching has actually gotten better around the league in both.
Okay.
On both sides, AL and NL. Right now, these teams that are struggling hitting have gone through. I feel like they're not poorly hitting. I think they're getting pitched by good pitchers. I think that we're not giving enough credit to these guys going out there and throwing early in the spring. Now, again, it ain't summer yet. These guys, they some of them are going to go back and play the same teams now on the second part of their calendars. So it might be that this number goes down or stays kind of plateaus. And
has he went over 400 at any point this year?
I think it was 400 in my first 5 games or something. But
oh, really?
Yeah, but it's again. Look, how about we just see what happens? We start putting this guy and calling this guy out as he gets injured or something happens and then he doesn't so.
Yeah.
Just appreciate every game that you see and whether they win or lose and just it's baseball, man. It's 100 and some odd games. Like to try to call him.
He's having a great year. I mean,
it's only been 30 games, Robert.
Do you think? Yeah. I'll tell you what, though. They don't have this shift change here, and that could really play into a part. He's reminding me of a Frank Thomas, man, where he can hit for power, he can hit for average. They both got that big frame.
Yeah, I think
he's got a shot at it. And Soto's not even there. Obviously it's about staying healthy, man.
When we were coming up, there was 2 guys there that were power hitters that you could probably compare them to, maybe 3, which is Frank Thomas.
Both hit for power and average.
Yeah, Gonzalez and
Gonzalez for Texas.
Gonzalez, and then this guy's father from Toronto. What's his name?
Oh, Guerrero.
Vladimir Guerrero. So those are the 3 guys, and with those 3 guys. It's always exciting to watch them play, but right towards the middle of the season, going to the end of the season, all of a sudden you saw the strikeout numbers start jumping month by month. All those guys had similar type of play. They had power. They could hit either side of the field. But when the pitching got, as it started warming up and the pitching got, some of the pitchers started going longer in the game, you saw the strikeouts kind of start jumping up. So I'm not saying that the Judge is going to happen exactly this way for Judge, but it's something that could happen because this is baseball, and he actually might get better as the pitchers get worse as it heats up, or it could go the other way around. He could start winding down. Maybe he peaks at game 50 and then starts winding down, but plateaus. So we don't know. I would have never signed.
I guess my question: do you think could he pass Ted Williams?
Not at this moment, even though the numbers and the statistics say that he will.
That's a possibility, yeah.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I don't think he can. I feel like, and this is me, and I've always said this, I like Aaron Judge, but I don't think I would have signed him for what he's gotten because I don't know if he can not stay from being injured and playing a whole year.
Yeah, he seems to get banged up every year.
But last year,
Do you have anything else you need to plug?
I've been
Get everything.
Been working like a hound dog here, and just different things I've been doing, and I'm just hoping to get one of these podcasts in the next few days, next week or so. I've got to get the time in to do it. I'm heading to New Orleans for international tournament in Pokemon. So
oh wow! So this is your third trip, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be my third trip. But this
Toronto, Atlanta. Are you gonna be able to make the show next week, Thursday?
We're gonna have to talk about that. So yeah, I hope so, but we'll see.
We could record early. Just send me a text and we can record it and replay it.
Yeah, so like yeah, I'm all over the place when not being a parent, and it's good times, but it's hard to get things all organized and keep them going.
You're not like Nico's dad from Tennessee, or the dad of or family members of Juan Soto. You're not living Pokemon fantasies through your son and living vicariously through him, are you?
I'm more like Halliburton. I'm more like Halliburton's dad. I just go to people's faces and be like, told you my son was gonna win. I told you.
So you got this Pokemon hat on like Halliburton's dad.
No. I'm just kidding. No, look.
Team Chavez.
I support my son in what he does, and I love him to death. It's my son.
Yeah.
I also have respect for other parents and their kids, because you have to have a little bit of respect, and they going and doing the same thing on the weekend, being a traveling family. So everybody got to get love out there, man. It's not easy being a parent. We all know that.
Right. Carlos, LeVar Ball, Chavez.
That's right. I'm gonna start my own Pokemon league. We're gonna play in Europe. We're gonna have all the
some Pokemon shoes.
I'm gonna have my shoes come out. Y'all better look for that next winter. On my own Bebop channel, my own Pokemon channel.
Remember, he said he could beat Michael Jordan. I mean, he's really hyping those kids up, man.
Nah, you gotta love these guys' parents, man. He was
over the top with it.
If you have kids, when you have kids, you'll see what it's like.
I might be. I know my time's running out, but I gotta figure it out. So, anyways, the Mad New Yorker, everybody. Appreciate you, buddy. All righty, everybody, and we'll be back sometime next week here on the Real Sports Scope. Enjoy the games. We'll see you then.